I was already skeptical with sites like Craigslist, but after that I was done. I haven't used Craigslist or even Facebook Marketplace after that night. Because really, when you think about it, you're taking a gamble on your life over some used items. Don't use Craigslist, and if you do, never let your guard down. Having just moved to a new city, I turned to Craigslist to find someone to share my new apartment with. As soon as I saw his post, I contacted him. His name was James. We exchanged a few emails and phone calls, and things seemed to be going well. A few days later, we agreed to meet in person to discuss the details. At first, James seemed like a friendly and easygoing guy. He was in his early 30s, and kind of reminded me of myself. We talked for a while about our interests and hobbies, and he shared some funny stories about his previous roommates. As we were wrapping up our conversation, James suddenly got very serious. "There's something I have to tell you. It's kind of important. I have a condition that sometimes makes some people uncomfortable." I looked at him, confused. "What condition?" "Sleepwalking," he said. "And it's pretty severe. I just want you to know that up front, in case it was a problem." I shrugged and said it was fine, not a big deal. The first few weeks went by without incident. James seemed like a great roommate, and we got along well. But then I started noticing strange things around the apartment. In the morning, food would be missing from the fridge and things would be moved around. I assumed it was just James sleepwalking, but didn't give it much thought. One night I was awakened by a strange noise coming from James's room. At first it sounded like he was talking to himself, but then I realized it was something else, a low growling sound that sent chills down my spine. I got up quietly, crept to his door and listened. The growling got louder and more intense. I opened the door slowly, and as I peered inside, I saw James standing in the middle of the room, his eyes closed. It was a strange and unsettling sight. I felt like I was seeing something that I wasn't supposed to see and chose to back away and go back to my room. The sounds went on for a few more minutes before they stopped. In the morning I refrained from mentioning anything to James so as to not embarrass him. He seemed to be acting normal anyway, so I brushed it all under the rug and forgot about it. Another few days went by and I found myself waking up occasionally to footsteps in the hallways or doors opening and closing, and sometimes even James making that same growling type noise. I knew it was just James sleepwalking, so it didn't frighten me, but I still had trouble falling asleep unless I heard him go back to bed. One night though, I woke up to James's bedroom door closing. Usually he closes the door softly, but this time it sounded like he had slammed it. My eyes shot open and I stared at my door as his footsteps slowly crept over and stopped. I could see his shadow underneath the crack in the door. Then the doorknob slowly turned and he opened the door softly. James's figure stood in the darkness between the doorway. I was frozen, staring at the creepy roommate. I knew it was him sleepwalking, but it was still a creepy sight. Then he began making those same growling noises. After a moment he stopped. A second later his eyes shot open and suddenly he lunged towards me. But in seconds he had me pinned down. His eyes were blank and expressionless. "Stay still," he said in a monotone voice, as if he was still asleep. "Don't move." I tried to break free, but he was too strong. I felt a deep, intense fear building inside me, and then just like that, it was over. James released me and slumped off the bed. Then lethargically walked back to his room, closing his door softly behind him. I quickly got up and locked my bedroom door, then stayed up for the rest of the night. In the morning I left for work early, before James even got up. I dreaded the thought of seeing him at home after work because I knew I would make things awkward. But when I pulled into the driveway, his car wasn't there. I then noticed a lot of things missing from the house, and when I checked his